evening WTU. I've actually made it. Wow, that's incredible. I'm hoping, I don't know what any of these buttons do, I'm hoping I'm going to be able to bring on a viewer. Not just a viewer, but a member of WTU who suggested that we have members come on and share their situation, their experiences, campaign ideas and all that sort of thing. Okay, who can I see there? Peter's there. Hi Joe. Sod's Law, the person I was meant to be in there. Right, I can wave to you guys. This is actually just a learning curve at this precise moment in time. I am trying to figure out a way to make it so that I can chat with Simon Carter so he can share specifically. So please bear with me while we, there's no plural, figure it out. If anyone actually knows, feel free to also tell me. I hate these live feeds. They make me. I can see how exhausted I look. Like, The Walking Dead. How you doing, Peter? I hope you're well, man. Right then. It's interesting. I can only see 3 people that are named watching, but there's 7 eyeballs looking at me apparently. Hello, eyeballs. Please bear with me. Like I say, it's learning curves. We're going to get the hang of this. I'm actually pressing buttons and trying to bring somebody on camera as it happens. Let's have a look. Ah, yes. Okay, let's press that button. Bringing Simon onto camera. No answer from live guest. Hi Jess, hope you're keeping well. Bear with me a minute. Simon Carter's there, right, he's there. See, this morning I had all these things, or was it yesterday morning, saying, invite into the talk. Right, bear with me a minute, Simon. I'm just trying to add you. Once we know what we're doing, this will get easier, by the way. No answer from live video guest. So it won't let me. It's like a tease, that is, letting me think we can have a live chat with people, and now we can't. Was it on my laptop? Right then. Excuse me, gentlemen and ladies, if you wouldn't mind just bearing with me just a brief moment. I might have done the live feed from my laptop. Did I do it on my laptop? Shit, man. Right, Simon's in the background here. Hi Kev, how you doing? Hi Patrick, saying yes, he's here. Right, we're just having some technical issues like we anticipated, so let's not panic. We anticipated technical toothing issues. That's just on my little flexi tripod thing, right? But see, Ian Dawson, for some reason I can bring you on camera. So why can't I bring anybody else on camera all of a sudden? It's really strange. So is there a setting? Does anybody know? Is there a setting perhaps? Because it says here, like for Peter Graham, for example, I can press a button and bring them on camera. Simon Carter, I can only wave to you. I'm going to wave to you. Maybe it will progress to being able to bring you on. I can wave. And Ian Dawson, I could bring you on camera. So why does it, good evening John, why does it just give me no control over who I can bring on? Does anybody know if there's like a Facebook setting that you guys, your friends, their friends, won't be able to watch this live feed unless they're in your selected audience? Learning curve here, folks. I'm going to add him. No answer from live guest. Can you test your settings in any way, Simon? It's frustrating, I can't hear any of you. So what we need to do, maybe just do this like on huge Zoom or I know that type video thing. Let's try. So frustrating. Right, let's just ping up this other electrical device and see if it was because I was on a laptop. So frustrating. Anyway, it's so nice to, that you've bothered to tune in and have a listen. It would be really nice if we had some more to talk about with it. It wasn't just me. The idea was it wasn't going to be me for a change. And it's just me. Bear with me, please. but I can put you on my 15-inch Samsung through my phone. That sounds interesting. Feels like I'm on the news at 10. Right then, can I ask, let me just think. So first person, Peter Graham, top of the list. It says here, bring them on camera. But Peter Graham, would you give me a comment or something? Are you happy for me to press the button to bring you on camera, just to experiment and try and make this a mutually community learning experience? So frustrating. It's like 3 people I can bring on camera and then the rest I can't. So it's got to be a setting on the other end, I'm thinking. I'm going slightly mad. And there was no way to test this actually before doing this, unfortunately. I had no way to test it without doing it. So, oh, I've got something. What is that something? Simon Carter. Let's press add. Let's press add again. Come on, let's work. Oh, it might be working. Adding. It's looking positive. I hope it works. It's nice when things work. Right then. Turning my kind of volumes or notifications down, media up. Okay, it's telling me it's adding, but I can't see anything. Ooh, where's everybody going? Interesting, some icons have got camera signs next to it and some haven't. Yeah, I feel like I'm back at school trying to figure things out from day one. Okay, apparently it's adding Simon at the moment, or it's trying to, so something is happening. And I'm noticing, if anyone knows live Facebook things, at the top I have people's icons, and some of them have got cameras. So that's got a camera, which must be on camera. Come on, work. Let's not have it like this, please. If not, we're going to have to find another way to do it. I know we can have video calls, but it was the live aspects where you could be involved in the communication. That was the real idea. So frustrating. I'm just trying to do it onto my laptop now to see if my laptop might have any accent, but anyway, I'll talk about other things while I'm having technological issues. Meanwhile, in the background, the joint report, I like that, the joint report between, it's like an amalgamation of information from the WTU paper and the CDAR Future paper, and that has been brought another step closer to its final draft. No answer from live guest. Okay, maybe it's a flaming problem. I'm so sorry, folks. I had hoped to come in and press some buttons and add people on, just like it said, and we would all sit here and have a very friendly, happy discussion about Simon, how he heard about the WTU, why he thinks we're important, why he thinks we might be successful, how we can improve our campaign. Hey!
We got there.
I've got set. Hey, oh, I'm so happy, Simon. Well done for persevering. I was jabbering in the background trying to fill the space, and you did really well there. Oh, excellent.
Yeah, finally. Sorry
Thank you.
about that.
No, don't be sorry. Thank you for persevering. It was bound to be toothing problems to begin in, or teething problems. Sometimes I get my words muddled up, by the way. So if my speech comes out garbled or disjointed and back to front, it goes all the way back to when I had like an aphasic episode induced by pharmaceutical drugs, and it just happens occasionally. So if it don't make sense, just ask me. Thank you.
Hold on, I'm hearing you twice. Now, I don't know.
So there's echo.
Oh, yeah.
Right, I'm only hearing you once. Can we see any comments from the audience and our people and friends at home? That's what I'm wondering now. Because at the minute, I can't even see if anyone's asking us questions. I can see people are with us, though. Thank you for sticking with us, folks. Are you hearing me still double, Simon?
Twice.
I don't know how to stop that.
I'm just going to light up.
Yeah, you if you can tolerate it. I think, to me, I can only hear you once. I'm hoping everybody else only
I'm going
hears
to
you once.
I'm going to try logging off and logging on again.
Okay, do that. Yeah. I'm going to say it wasn't about me anyway. I can shut up and just listen to you. That'd be great. But do that. Log out, log in, and we'll see how we get on.
Yeah.
See you in a mo. Okay. Hello again, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being patient. I'm hoping this is going to actually be an inspiring and interesting discussion. We already have another member of our community who has come forward for next Monday's talk. This is going to be a weekly thing. If we have to do it somehow or other, I don't know how, we'll figure it, but I really like this idea of me just asking a few questions and me shutting up and listening to you guys. I'm hoping in a few moments Simon will be back in and I'll have a little red little dot there. I don't want to start it on my laptop next to this device because could that be what was making an echo? This wasn't on the live feed. Any techie people that know stuff? I mean, ask me about cannabis by all means, and ask me about various different bits of legislation, and I've got a good chance. Ask me about English and maths, Spanish, various languages. Ask me about technology. So as I was saying, I'll chat about that. So myself and Guy Coxall have been both in the background collating information. A big shout out, I think it was Colin Pierce, Colin Price. I wish I kept a note of every single name of person that sent me information. We found some real pearls last night. Absolute gold dust, it felt like. Hello again, Simon.
Right. Hi.
Once or twice?
Once.
One.
I think we're sorted. We think we're sorted.
Excellent. We cracked it. Well,
Only took a few.
thank you for your suggestion, and then actually thank you for being so quick to jump into the boots of your own suggestion. And that's really good of you. So thank you.
Well, it's all about really getting together and voicing your opinion, making people mobile at the end of the day, getting people thinking, trying to stir some motivation. I think there's been a lot of lethargy over the years, through probably, tiredness, of the repetitive rhetoric comments from the government regarding legalisation. I think it's about time to start, pushing things forward, really. So,
Excellent.
simple.
Yeah, simple. And it is really, if you take out a load of corrupt and bent politicians. So my first question then would be, how did you hear about we the undersigned have a human sovereign right to cannabis?
I think it's just, to me, it's a natural progression. I've always been interested, and it's just, if it wasn't for technology, cannabis would be legal decades ago, I believe. So the fact that we can get together online and do this gives a collective association that we push forward, and hence, it's just basically through searching online. I found WTU. I followed Paul Taylor for a while, of Crick, since, I don't know, 2015, 16. Nice guy, doing it on his own. And he sort of like led me on via his sort of his posts on Facebook and that, and I ended up sort of just doing various searches on Facebook. And I mean, apart from that, I've been like, I suppose, armchair campaigning for years now, you know, and with the advocate of the internet, you know, the advocacy of the internet and that, I think, you know, it's been easier to do stuff like that
Totally.
rather than going out on demonstrations,
Yeah.
you know. And I spent quite a few years writing to newspapers and comments and stuff in the past, you know, on various newspaper articles and that, and as I say, to me, it was just a natural progression, really. I think obviously, you know, Facebook helped
Yeah.
a big thing, you know, Facebook. So, so I mean, see the future as well. You know, I like the idea of what's going ahead at the moment with you, and see the future. And now, you know, I've heard of the outlaw as well. I've only seen him on sort of news articles. I've not really sort of focused on pushing in that direction, shall we say.
Yeah.
Neil Woods as well. I got interested in him. I used to read a lot of books. Well, I still do. Neil Woods a Leap, Sean Atwood, Johann Harry, Chasing the Scream. Brilliant book, that one. Martin, I mean, I started off reading all sort of like history books on cannabis, and I mean, it's just been a natural progression at the end of the day, and I feel that, you know, it's a time really to get to grips with it.
Yeah.
Sorry if I'm rambling.
I know it's exactly what I wanted, actually, and I've just been waiting for you to pause for your lost thread, in which case I'm going to jump in and just say what you made me think when you were talking. Something that made me really happy, like you mentioned Paul Taylor of Crick. I met Paul before we the Undersigned was even, I hadn't even thought of anything like it. I was supporting the United Patients Alliance, as was Paul at that time. And it just shows how important it is of the networking, actually, the reaching out and the speaking to each other. Because if I hadn't met Paul at that protest that the UPA did, we wouldn't have known each other further on. And then he wouldn't be sharing WTU and you wouldn't have seen it. So now you wouldn't have joined it. Do you know what I mean? And it's this spreading, I think of like the roots spreading through the soil is exactly how it is in my mind. And when we're all talking to each other and making these connections and reaching out in solidarity and building community, it strengthens us all as we more come together as a greater fabric of, I call it the canna community. And some people say, oh, there is no canna community because everyone's just backstabbing bitches and falling out all the time. Isn't that what communities do by and large across the whole spectrum, no matter what? And I don't find that's one facet, you know. A lot of people support, love, generously give and donate to each other as well. So it's like human nature, it's a spectrum. But yeah, I really like that, the way that sharing groups gets us on.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I've moved to Spain, you know, now because I think there's various reasons. I mean, I used to do a lot of scuba diving, and that was my main hobby, you know. And I loved that, and I obviously loved the weather, but also liked the weed when I came over here. So, you know, that was one of the reasons I came, and a few other political events, you know, that happened over the few past years that, you know, that might have forced my arm, shall we say, but you know. Really, I mean, it's a good move for me.
Yeah. I can imagine a lot of people have taken the same move. In fact, I trained to be a Spanish teacher and an English teacher with the intention of moving to Spain to teach Spanish to the English and English to the Spanish.
Yeah, right, good.
You know, that was the intention. That's why I studied and went to university and became a teacher, etc. But then my chronic pain condition kind of, well, kicked the arse out of that ambition and pipe dream. But
Yeah, yeah.
those skills that I developed whilst at uni have enabled me for everything I've been doing with We the Undersigned. And the groups you mentioned coming together, it feels to be a beginning of quite a powerful movement of people, really.
Yeah, yeah. Certainly, it's the brightest or the most optimistic I've seen people with regards to legalisation for many years now. I mean, my personal journey, the first time I had cannabis was the early 80s at school. Um, And I mean, back then, people sort of looked at it as something that would, it would screw you up. Um, I mean, I've written a few notes here because I was thinking about this today. What really, bothered me about cannabis when I was younger, because I gave it up for about 10 to 15 years. I started using it from, like, say, 15, 16, and I I was quite wayward. And my parents were quite strict, um, and I suppose I rebelled against it, to be honest. Um, And my father, funny enough, he was a pharmacist, which, added to the the friction in the family, should we say. So we had quite a few heated arguments over the years. And he was quite a successful businessman as well. So I mean, I used to take it when I was quite young, and then I gave it up because I got married and had children, and things sort of, focused on different ways of life. But I was always led to believe that, it was bad. It would make you become a dropout, make you very lazy. But in the past 10 to 15 years, where I picked it up again, I just picked it up. I used to be an electrician as well, and I used to meet a few builders on sites and that, and they would all smoke weed and that. And I thought, oh, well, I'll have a go at some again. I hadn't touched it for about 15 years, and I did. And I continue to work, and I continue to make money and hold down a job. And unfortunately, my wife divorced me, but there was nothing to do with weed because I wasn't using it then. But she went off with another bloke. But I managed to keep my daughter, and I brought my daughter up as well. On top of that, and I thought, well, there's no way that I believe the claptrap, the crap that the government are coming out with.
Yeah.
There's no way. So I started reading books, and that's really how it took off. And I met my current wife, who's there's some relatives we have that also use cannabis as well, and and we just sort of, like, it just took off from there, you know. So and now pretty much all of us, I don't know hardly anyone now that's against
Yeah,
legalising.
it's
I
true.
really don't. And I mean, there might be one or two, my side of the family than my wife's side. But I mean, apart from that, the amount of people that I've met and talked to, there are groups that you get to meet over here in Spain before all this COVID shite and all that. But groups we used to meet over here, and they were all for it as well. And 90% of them are bloody growing it in their gardens as well. It's
It's
just,
like the politicians haven't caught up with the people, isn't it, really?
yeah, yeah,
Or
yeah,
the
yeah,
people have just ignored the politicians and carried on with their lives regardless of whatever they've said.
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah.
interesting. You mentioned, like, the what was it, the repetitive rhetoric of the politicians, where they keep coming back with the same claptrap over and over and over again. And I can
Yeah,
see
yeah,
why
yeah.
it does wear people down. It is tiring. And we don't even know if what we're doing, there's no guarantee it's going to make any difference, even regardless of all the evidence that we brought together. I mean, the things that I was finding, pulling out of documents last night, that members in our group, like a hive mind, working together, had shared and collected and collated. The law, cannabis, or even prohibition laws in general, with all substances, not just cannabis, are stated by the United Nations as to be infringing human rights, particularly the human right to health. And it's amazing that, well, it's not amazing once you actually dig deeper and find out, well, how they're profiting so much from the current situation that they've got a financial incentive not to change the law. And that's the biggest problem with, I think, is a lot of it in the UK
Yeah,
at least.
yeah.
I can't say so much about other countries, but we see a lot of changes in other countries. Mind you, look at
Mm.
Spain though. I was watching a report from Stephen D'Angelo and a man, is it called Alberto, from Barcelona, who he was the first cannabis social club in Barcelona. And I think 20 years or so, 15, 20 years, they've been operating really successfully. And he's just been put in prison now by the federal government, the Supreme Court.
Yes, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
that's just
There's a lot of
devastating.
friction at the moment going on between the Spanish government and the Barcelona government,
Yeah.
really. And so I think that, you know, it's not just about, you know, cannabis related issues. I think there's other issues as well,
The
you know, that
political autonomy and everything, just trying to assert
yeah,
themselves
yeah,
again. Yeah.
that's right.
Mm.
Um,
It's a
I
real,
mean, the club situation over here at the moment is it's definitely quiet. Uh, I mean, but they were able to stay open pretty much throughout the lockdown periods we've had over here. Um, and I know I went into one not too long ago, around Christmas time, and I said, "Well, how is it that you can stay open?" And you know, all the bars and restaurants have all been ordered to close. And he said, "Well, this is a private family organisation. They can't touch us." You know, and this is how I feel that it should sort of go in the UK, really. It should be privatised.
mm,
You know, I mean, apart from the fact that everyone should have a sovereign right to it, of course, you know, it shouldn't be given to big corporations. It should be, you know, small people's business at the end of the day.
bit like
Um,
cottage industry type things.
yeah, 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 yeah.
When
You know, it's just like all these microbreweries you get around the place. I mean, we don't want to have like fucking Heineken shite and all that stuff, do we? From weed, we don't want that.
and
You know, we want quality stuff.
the only
You
people
know.
I hear like against, I don't like to say legalization. We could have a big discussion about that if you like. The only people that speak out against changing the law um, tend to be people that have got invested interests in profiting from the law remaining the same, because they're in the pharmaceutical industry, or they're a politician or someone, they've got investments in it or something like that. The people that just know the facts and haven't got any invested interest all seem very keen for change. And it's interesting that that tired, repetitive rhetoric that you mentioned when you were young at school, which was a similar age when I
Yeah,
started, when a lot of people had it be affecting your mental health and all that, and how, you know, as you become more mature in adult life, you find out for yourself by experience that, as you said, it's a load of old claptrap. And yet,
yeah,
statistically, it's 1 in 4,000 people might have a psychotic episode induced by cannabis. And that's only if
yeah,
they've got a genetic propensity to have psychosis in the family. So they've actually taken a very real health risk that is to a minuscule amount of the population, and then
yeah,
exaggerated that to
yeah,
apply to every single human being in the adult population. Um,
yeah,
which,
yeah,
like you said, it's all a load of old nonsense. And we're all walking proof of it, because we're all successful in our own ways. We're just choosing to relax with cannabis instead
yeah.
of maybe other things.
Well, it's like the efficacy of the vaccine at the moment that they're sticking on the news today. you know, the AstraZeneca vaccine. You know, there's only a few people that have got, you know, illness over it, you know, but you know, even just that equates, just the fact that there's only a few people that have got ill from a vaccine equates to legalisation of cannabis alone, let alone all the
I
prohibitionists.
see what you're saying. So because of the amount of that small percentage of people it's harmed is adequate justification to prohibit it.
Yeah,
In the same
yeah,
vein, I
exactly.
understand what you're saying.
It's as simple as that, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
You know?
I see what you say by that justification. It's and an interesting thing. That's what it's meant to be. The law is meant to be just and proportionate.
Yeah,
And that's what we're
yeah.
saying. It's neither just nor proportionate in essence.
No,
Excuse me, just
yeah.
one little moment. Well, okay, you'll have to just read a book and wait until you fall asleep, my little one. Well, once we finish chatting, that's what I said to you, and I don't exactly know. That's why it's after your bedtime that I'm having this chat. If you would just go and take yourself a book, you've got your little lights on, read a book. Yeah, it's okay, thank you. I love you. Sweet dreams, buenas noches. I'll come and give you a snuggle once I've finished. Thank you. Come on, now, darling. Good girl. I'll see you soon. Thank you. It's interesting, like everything you were saying about your life rang so many bells and parallels to my life. That was quite incredible.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know.
Yeah, that's just the way life
My
is.
daughter now looks at me as a friend as well as a father.
Yeah,
So
it's the best way to be, I
it's the
believe.
best thing ever.
Yeah,
Best thing ever.
good for you. You're gonna wait for me. Okay, could look there and wait for me. Quietly though, please. Okay. So, are there any ways, like you've mentioned your experience campaigning yourself, are there any ways that you can see? Sometimes I feel very much like a one-man band. I've got a great admin team that help me
Yeah,
manage the Facebook page and help me manage the merchandise and various bits of research and things that crop up. But sometimes I do feel like too much of a one-man band. So is there any ways that you can see from an outside that you think we should be doing with the organisation to try and
I'm not a legal person, unfortunately.
not
So
even
when it comes,
necessary and legal, it doesn't have to, like
I
this
mean,
was a suggestion
I,
today,
I,
which is,
yeah, you know, I think it is just generating interest at the end of the day. I think, you know, going in the direction is the only way to go. The way the way that it's going at the moment is the only way. We've tried every avenue, every other
yeah,
avenue, um, and this is the only way. And then at least if this doesn't progress, then, you know, at least we can say we tried.
yeah, exactly. That's
You
exactly how
know,
I feel. You know, better to try and fail than fail to try.
yeah, yeah,
It's interesting because never in history has it been possible to do what we're about to attempt to do, funnily enough, because previously the law was different, global changes hadn't happened, human rights precedents hadn't been set in other parts of the world. So everything we've tried to create as the evidence really couldn't have happened until this point of time because it's taken all of the other events to happen to precipitate this one in essence.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes. Can I talk about the fish later, my heart? Thank you. Great laid plans and all that. So how about yourself then? If you don't mind me asking, I don't personally buy into the medical versus recreational paradigm. I believe anyone who chooses to use cannabis to rest, recover from the stresses of life, even if they're not fighting a specific medical illness, are still
Yeah.
using the prophylactic, thank you, Kelly Blackwell, for that word, the prophylactic health benefits of cannabis. In other words, you're using it and it's stopping you from getting poorly. Therefore, it's still medical, even if you're not fighting a specific medical condition. So I'm not going to say to you, are you medical or recreational? But I will say, you know, do you utilize cannabis to manage a specific condition or illness, or do you use it for
I
its general health
yeah,
and well-being properties?
I think every drug is medicinal, and that includes alcohol. Um, I consider myself a recreational user. Um, I probably smoke on average about four joints a day. Um, Maybe a few more weekends, you know, and that's pretty consistent. Um, I think, yeah, I mean, I would say I have used it for pain relief and also for anxiety
Mm-hmm.
as well. Yeah, I mean, but the majority of the time, you know, it's relaxing after our day's work,
After
or
our day's
you know,
work, exactly.
or you know, a bit of chilling time with
Yeah,
mates or
yeah.
whatever. Like, you know,
So this whole term, and I think we maybe need to start asking the government for the legal definition of this ambiguous recreational cannabis that they keep talking about.
yeah,
Because,
yeah,
to have like 3 or 4 joints a day, maybe like with a cup of coffee while you're just having a rest, like another person might have a fag break or a vape break or whatever break they might choose. That's
yeah,
I don't know. You're not even doing that for shits and giggles, as my kids would say. Where's
yeah,
someone said to me, recreation is about recreating yourself. So you're having a hectic day and you're all stressed or you're feeling it or whatever, or you can't think straight, whatever's going on, and you think, right, I'm going to just stop now. I'm going to take the time, go through the rolling ceremony, because that itself is a ceremony of therapeutic value. And then once you've done that, you make your smoke and you have your smoke. You are resting and recovering and just resetting those buttons for a little while, so you can then get through the next 4 hours or 8 hours of the day.
yeah. It gives you clarity of thought as well. You know,
I find
um,
that really
it,
home.
it gets rid of all the shit that you've had throughout the day. You know,
Hmm.
um,
It's interesting. I wrapped that up in a fancy way because at uni, like, I had to learn loads of, like, I hated uni and I loved it at the same time. Don't know why people can't just talk straight and just make knowledge accessible to everyone. Instead, sweetheart, excuse me a minute. I do need you just to go and wait in your bedroom for me because I can't really have a free conversation and we have planned this all day. So just go and read a book to yourself, little sweetheart, please. They wrap it up in all this other stuff. Uh, it's nonsense, actually. What is immoral in your actions? What is in your actions that make it justifiable and proportionate for the state to come in and destroy your life just because 4 or 5 times a day you choose to rest and recover yourself with
yeah,
cannabis? Is
yeah,
the question, isn't it? Um,
yeah, yes, yeah. I mean, as I say, I've not really been affected by prohibition, I would say. Certainly not here, because I mean, there's an element of decriminalisation in Spain at the moment.
how
But when
long
I
have you
lived in
been
the
in
UK,
Spain?
I've been in 2 years now.
Okay.
I've been living 2 years, yeah.
And without your specific location, just as a which, what, where's your nearest greatest city or something? Which part of Spain? What coast?
Valencia, we're just an hour south of Valencia.
An hour from
Um,
Valencia.
you can see Ibiza from the coast here,
Nice.
so
I,
sort of I look and I think of Howard Marks, you know.
I studied in Granada, as it happens, in
Oh right, yeah,
Andalusia.
yeah, yeah, lovely place,
And
yeah,
I also worked in Lloret de Mar near Barcelona in Catalonia.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
yeah, I've got a lot of love and passion for Spain and Spanish and Catalan people. It's interesting because when I was there forgive me for all this pain management crap you see in the background, by the way, forgive me.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
when I was in Granada, studying. I was in the La Facultad de Traducción, which is the Faculty of Translation, and I studied there between 2006 and 2007. Yes, leave it till tomorrow, please. That's great news. And whilst there, it was really strange because I'd learnt textbook, like BBC Spanish, if you like. Like we have BBC English, and then you've got the English people speak on the ground. But it's like that
Yeah.
in Spain. You have like the standard Spanish, then you have local colloquial Spanish. And I got to this Granada, and I couldn't understand anything. I went from like really good Spanish and not understanding a word these folks were talking to me because the accent was
Yeah.
so unique.
Yeah.
I made friends with a Spanish chap who had his own little grow on, and I learnt so much Spanish in his company.
Yeah.
Then when I went into the lecture, suddenly one day it all just made sense, and I could actually understand the local dialect and the local accent. My daughter, who was 4, she's now 19. She was fluent in Spanish within 3 months, and the tolerance we experienced. We mingled with local people, and we would sit in the cafe at Plaza Romanilla in Granada, and we would be able to just sit at the cafes, roll our smokes. All we had to do was wrap it back around the cigarette filter, and the police would literally just turn a blind eye, carry on, and just leave everyone to it. And it was no social drama whatsoever. And that's going back, well, crikey, that's like 15 years, isn't it?
Yeah.
Spain has been, to me, from my perspective and understanding, quite a tolerant place for quite some time. Whereas in England,
Yeah.
the bobbies will be on you for a whiff, like.
Yeah. Well, you can do exactly that in the village that I live in. You can go down to the bars. I mean, there's only a population of 400 people in the local area to me, but only the other week there was a big bust. There was about 300 plants in a house, and I just think, well, you know, who's calling the police?
Right, yeah.
You know, who's calling these people in? I think it's got to be the bloody Brits. You know, I'm just thinking their mentality around here is they still think that they rule the world.
Yeah.
They come and live in a different country, and they think that they can impose their law here, and that winds me up.
Yeah.
You know, winds me up.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I liked, that's why we integrated and stopped being British when we were there.
Yeah.
And that's just how we preferred it, to really absorb the culture.
Yeah.
I think sometimes the government just do it, they get wind of it and they have to act. I don't know if Spain have anything like the Proceeds of Crime Act, but I know in the UK, the police make a lot of money off those sorts of hits. Like £1,000 a
Yeah.
plant, they try to charge it in the UK. That'd be a £300,000
Yeah.
hit, like.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they seem here, I don't know about Spain, but here, to some degree, I don't know, they're still busting personal grows all the time, but at the same time, a lot of people seem to get away with personal growing. So it seems to me they'll only come and bother you if there's a public complaint against you, in which case they'll act upon it. But if there's no
Yeah.
complaint, they sort of just leave you in peace. It's my experience so far, anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I never grew in the UK. Well, sorry, I did. Back in the 80s, I did. I could have got banged away, to be honest, but that's a different story. But yeah, I mean, I've only done a couple of grows out here myself, just for 3 or 4 plants at a time. You know, I'm not
outside,
experienced enough.
Is that outside, I
So
take
yeah,
it, in the sun?
outside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is, to my understanding, actually, in Spain, you can grow it on your own property so long as it's out of sight. Is that not correct?
Yes, yeah. You can't be visible from the
Yeah.
street.
So if you could even LST
And
it along your old balcony as long as it's not visible.
yes, although I think some regions now are turning a blind eye to that. I seem to remember seeing a few stories about people saying that the police turn blind eyes towards balcony growing.
Okay. I
Um,
mean, so they should, because no one's harming anybody else, isn't it? So that's the...
yeah, yeah. You know, in the local area here, you allow 3 plants per household. Um, um, I mean, obviously, if the police can see them, they'll come and take them away.
Yeah,
But if they don't see them and it's not causing a fuss,
yeah,
then they're not going to bother.
yeah.
And I think they have to have a judicial order as well to enter the property.
Uh-huh.
You know, so they just can't walk in. They've got to go through a costly procedure to get entrance to a property.
Sounds a bit harder there than what it is here for them, in fact. I don't think they need to do that
Yeah,
much here.
yeah.
It's an interesting one. I'm just trying to think of another question for you. What was my last question? Can you remember any of them? Don't remember. That's one thing I won't ever quibble with anybody, actually, is the effect that cannabis does have upon memory. It does,
No, I mean,
does affect memory, but that's why I
do
like
too.
it, because it's helpful.
Not just not just my memory. I'm as fit as I ever bloody have been. You know, for decades.
That makes
You
sense
know?
because it maintains homeostasis and good health. So it stands to good reason that you're in
Yeah,
good health.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
I just wanted to say, sort of slightly diverting. I'm not a relation to Simper Carter, by the way, although my name looks very similar to
yeah, it
his.
crossed my mind if you
He's
were.
a
Isn't that
talented
funny?
guy, much more talented than me.
He's a good lad, is Simper. He really is. And it did cross my mind because it's an
Yeah,
S and the C. It's very. I have to double check it and read it twice.
yeah.
So, I'm just, so you personally, you've been quite, look, I've spoken about your relationship with cannabis. You said prohibition hasn't had too great an impact because you've been lucky, really. You've had narrow escapes and no big hits.
Well, yeah. I mean, when I was younger, there were a few more episodes that I got involved with. You know, I don't want to go too much into
No,
detail,
no,
but
no, I feel obliged to.
some of them were quite funny. But yeah.
It's,
One quick story. Got pulled over in New Romney, in Kent. 'Cause I used to live in Canterbury, in Kent,
uh-huh,
and me and a few mates went down to New Romney for a day trip in the sun, in the summer. Smoking a spliff on the beach. Got back in the car and drove off. This police car pulled us over, and he said, right, with reason to believe you've got drugs in you, would you like to declare anything before we search your car? And I thought, well, okay, I'll hand it over. It's only a small eighth of ash. So I'll hand it over, get it all over and done with. And he let us off, but he had this hook on his hand. He didn't have a proper hand. And he put his hand in my window and goes, you don't want to get hooked on this stuff. You want to get hooked on fishing. And I'm looking at him like stoned out me and going, what are you talking about?
surreal, man, surreal.
But yeah, we got off.
Yeah, you got to have a laugh. Yeah, it's a real shame how what is fundamentally a health issue has been made a criminal issue, and the police
Yeah.
have, it's even made them lose credibility, really, because they'll spend more time chasing people with cannabis than they do rapists, murderers, and paedophiles. It's just
Yeah, of course, yeah. We all know that now.
yeah. Well, I'm glad to hear that you haven't had too drastic an impact from prohibition on your life. That's always good because I hear stories of,
No,
of
I
prison and all sorts.
I thought I'd try and bring, a bit of, I don't know, nothing too diverse, just to sort of like maybe sort of balance a few things out a little bit. I don't know, and then hopefully, maybe this sort of, I don't know, whether it's a forum or whatever you want to call it, discussion might take off, and you might get some more sort of interesting characters that join in, and
Well,
can
I'm
give
hoping
some
you'll
real insight.
pave the way. You've already inspired another gentleman, Paul Noble. He's joining me next Monday, so you've inspired one other at least. And I'm hoping it's going to just snowball from there, that people will want to
Yeah,
come share their ideas, share their stories, share their thoughts and feelings. Something we haven't spoke about that's completely off piece from all this, but something that's always crop up for me writing all the time. What about, I'll ask, we spoke about cannabis helping you with your therapeutic aspects, your social aspects. What about in terms of, like, let's say creativity, for example? Do you ever find it gives any kind of creative tickle to you?
All the time. I went to art school when I was a kid.
Lovely.
So, yeah, I mean, I was always interested in art. And now that I'm in the country of one of the most famous artists, I believe, in the world, Picasso, I just loved his stuff, you know, when I was at college. And I think that was another inspiration for me moving here, you know. Yeah, I mean, I have actually started an art club up here. I did
Oh, wow, lovely.
before the COVID outbreak. It was
Okay.
it was going for about 6 months, and then COVID shut us down. You know,
And
so
that for a lot of things, hasn't it?
I mean, you know, we keep in contact with each other, you know, online and that.
Yeah.
And hopefully, you know, the regulations will allow us all get back together soon.
Yeah.
It's easing over here, although we're still waiting on a vaccination program.
Well,
That's taking.
yeah, that's a
That's
tangent.
manana.
Yeah,
That's manana.
that's for the next time. Um, Funny, I believe in fully informed consent. That's all I'll say. What about the period of time when you abstained because you thought that's what society sort of demanded of you and family life, etc.? Did you find your creative tingle, should we call it? Did it diminish? Did it stay the same? Get bigger, smaller? Not notice anything different?
But I've always been sort of hyper creative, and I think it probably made me more directional in my art. Gave me
Gave you
bit
more
more focus.
focus?
Gave me a bit more focus. Yeah. It was, you know, directing on what I was actually going to do rather than sitting at a blank piece of paper. You know. So yeah, he certainly does help, and you know, I don't know. I do hope to actually produce some of the work I used to do when I was young. So
Be interesting
one
to
day.
see some of your work one day. That'd be really interesting, that would.
Yeah. When I get back to doing it, we're in the middle of doing our house up at the moment. It's falling into a little bit of disrepair, so we're decorating and that. And once that's out of the way, then I'm probably going to start painting again. So
Good. I'd
give us
encourage you
something
to
to
do that.
do with bloody lockdowns. I'm fed up with
Yeah,
it.
isn't it? Okay, I'll give you one last question then before I go because it's getting on to nearly an hour now. Because I often talk about the reason for these questions that have just spotted up on my mind. I often talk about the therapeutic, the relaxational, nutritional, creative, and spiritual aspects of cannabis. And now I personally feel like I connected with God, universe, higher force. I've had quite a spiritual awakening through my cannabis experiences. Have you had any kind of spiritual experiences with cannabis?
Yes. Well, I do yoga 3 times a week, and it's very deep. When you get involved, we've been doing it since lockdown now, so it's a year we've been doing this, and I've been quite emotional, to be honest. Sometimes, you know, my emotions have been stirred through doing it. I never thought I'd be like this, but you know, maybe it's something to do with the situation of the world at the moment. But yoga is definitely a spiritual journey to follow, and you combine it with cannabis. It's just it's so uplifting, You know, you've got you've got your physical fitness. You're actually, you know, you're sustaining.
Yeah.
And and it increases your awareness, your balance, everything. You know, it adds adds at the end of the day. Yeah, it's a
Sorry,
good
your
thing.
signal broke there. Sorry, Simon. I got it. Adds to.
Oh yes, it adds to life
Adds
basically.
to life.
You know,
Love it. Because that's what it does,
I think
actually. Yeah. Oh,
yeah,
lovely. Interesting. Um, before you mentioned the yoga and the way it helped you focus. Before I became disabled with chronic pain and slipping joints, etc., and I used to be quite fit and strong into mountain biking and hill running, I would often
yeah,
have a big smoke, like a bucket or something, and then go and get on my mountain bike or then go for my run. And it would allow me to run further and harder than if I didn't.
yeah,
Same for my poems as well. Like for me, it helps me with my poetry, or what I like to think of as attempted poetry. It just helps me feel more
yeah.
creative. It's really interesting. Right, I'm going to say thank you for your time, Simon. Thank you for the suggestion as well. I'm going to
Yeah.
go after my patient little lady now who's been waiting for me. Thank you for everything.
Okay, well, I hope everyone enjoyed listening to my rubbish.
Well, don't think of it as rubbish, actually, because that's discounting and crediting your life. You said some wonderful pills to
No,
me,
no, I don't mean
and
that. I
summing it
mean
up,
that.
it adds to life. That is,
My wife goes, just don't rabble, please don't rabble.
well, you're sat with a real rambler anyway. I do, and life is a tangent. It's good to talk in tangents.
Yeah,
We touched on
yeah,
all the questions as it happened, so you've
yeah,
actually
yeah.
answered all the questions. So you haven't rambled as it happened. So don't feel like you have. Um, if you're happy, what I'll do, I'll download this. I don't know how to edit and all that technical stuff, so I was literally going to just leave it raw and chuck it up on YouTube as it is. Um, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, I'm whatever.
I
Yeah.
don't know for a fact it will take your footage as mine, though. I've no idea how it's going to work out when it comes to download. Um, so, can you
Never
see?
done anything like
You
this
know, me
before. So.
neither. You can see a live in your corner, I take it.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I
It
can
could be
see.
that
Yeah,
you have a video to download. I don't know. We'll learn. We'll live and learn, and if not, we'll find a new
yeah.
platform where we can do it properly. Oh, come and look at
All
me
right
now,
then.
sweetheart. Look
My
after
battery's
yourself,
getting
Simon.
low.
Thank you for the
I'm gonna have to
suggestion and
go.
paving the way. God bless you, and keep your health up. Take care. Speak soon.
Namaste.
Namaste. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Speak soon. No, no.